Revenge is a common occurrence in sports, with the most talented players on earth battling for the legendary dominant spots in history. Players are provoked, humiliated, and even outright violently attested by their rivals, and revenge often becomes second nature. So, in the faith of this competitive spirit of the NBA, here are NBA revenge moments that you won't believe. Larry Bird versus Julius Erving. It was Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain who had mainly ignited the rivalry between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers in the 1960s. Then, in the 1980s, Larry Bird and Julius Erving, representing their respective teams, showcased an explosive revenge story worthy of the history books. Bird immediately brought back respectability to the Celtics franchise in 1979. And with his foresight, general manager Red Auerbach saw that Bird had all the skills needed to lead the Celtics back to the championships. On the other side, Erving, also known as Dr. J, joined the 76ers after the NBA and ABA merged prior to the 1976-77 season, and without a doubt, he brought astonishing talent to the 76ers, which was deemed the main cause for their advancements in the East. So naturally, Bird and Dr. J crossed paths several times. Although there was anger and passion in their rivalry, both players exhibited cordial sportsmanship and had mutual respect. Overall, both men were practically equal players. Even though Bird was a clever passer and a brilliant outside shooter, Erving played above the rim and dominated with his unpredictable creativity. With their virtual stalemate of skills, the Bird-led Celtics and the Erving-led Sixers would split 4 playoff series, and the playoff games were also tied at 12-12. But Bird and his Celtics were able to claim dominance and have exclusive bragging rights as they won more games in the regular season in a 21-23 advantage. Cleveland versus the King. In December of 2020, NBA fans had an early Christmas gift as LeBron James' much-publicized return to Cleveland to face off against the Cavs commenced. The Cavs were expected to play an inspired basketball game and show the Heat that heart can overcome talent, even if that talent was the King LeBron James. They had a vendetta against him for leaving Cleveland, and it was time to settle the score and rub it in his face. But we all know about the best-laid scheme o' mice and men. LeBron ended up dropping 38 points on way to a 118-90 victory. And even though he knew the entire city of Cleveland seemed to despise him, he showed no modesty as he clowned from the sidelines with his Heat teammates. The Heat went on to beat the Cavs 2 more times that season, which only inflamed the rivalry between Cleveland and LeBron even more. However, in the team's 4th and final meeting of the season, the irritated and inspired Cavs finally beat the Heat 102-90. Finally, the city of Cleveland had their great victory against their despised former player. Lakers versus Celtics. For one of the greatest moments of revenge in NBA history, we take you back to 1984. The Celtics and Lakers met in the NBA Finals in an intense series. The Celtics would go on to win Game 7, with Larry Bird winning the Finals MVP. Of course, this loss didn't sit well with Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, so they vowed to be the victor in the next round, and they were. The following year, when the Lakers got another shot at the Celtics, they capitalized on the opportunity, and astonishingly did it in fewer games than the year before, winning in 6. This rivalry continued for years, especially in the 1987 Finals, where the Celtics were beat again. But the rivalry and need for revenge didn't stop in the 80s. About 2 decades later, the Celtics struck a huge blow by beating the Kobe Bryant-led Lakers in 2008 in 6 games. And in the vibe of tit for tat, Kobe took those losses to heart and put the Celtics on his hit list. So by 2010, when they met in the finals again, Kobe assured that his Lakers won in 7 games. Reggie Miller versus the Knicks. When it came to getting to the playoffs, Reggie Miller, leading the Indiana Pacers, constantly hit a brick wall. And that brick wall was the New York Knicks and their powerhouse, Patrick Ewing. But of course, when you're in an esoteric city like New York, If you battle one, you have to battle all of them. This includes diehard fans, the likes of Spike Lee. So, the Knicks pounded the Pacers in the first round of the 1993 playoffs and again in the 1994 Eastern Conference Finals. It was even reported they crushed Reggie Miller's skinny, bony spirit. But revenge was on the horizon, and in the second round of the 1995 playoffs, Miller took full advantage of his third opportunity to wreak havoc on the Knicks. This was evident in Game 1 and has now gone down as one of the greatest moments in NBA lore. Amazingly, he scored 8 points in 9 seconds to close out Game 1. This gave him the leverage needed to stun the Knicks and set the stage for what would end up being a 7-game series that the Pacers would dominate. Air Jordan versus the Pistons. When it comes to the competitive spirit of being the best, Michael Jordan is always in the top 5 of anyone's list. So, it's hard to imagine a player with the caliber to actually get Jordan's panties in a twist. Yet Isaiah Thomas and the Detroit Pistons consistently tried his patience. The best sports analysts agree that since the Pistons knocked the Bulls out of the playoffs for 3 consecutive years from 1988 to 1990, they were actually responsible for Jordan's rage. Then, in the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals, the Pistons got first-hand experience of the rage of Jordan. It's the series that launched the Bulls dynasty, as they would go on to win the NBA Finals that year, as well as the following 2 years. And of course, the Chicago Bulls went on to complete a second three-peat, winning the championships in 96, 97, and 98. Dirk versus the Heat. In 2006, the Mavericks held a 2-0 lead over the Heat in the NBA Finals. Then, Dwayne Wade played with ultimate vigor and led the Heat to victory in 4 consecutive games to take the NBA title. To the victor goes the spoils, and he was voted Finals MVP. Dirk and Mark Cuban, on the other hand, had to deal with several accusations and excuses as to why their team bit the dust. The revenge came in 2011 when the Mavericks once again stepped on the court to face the Heat in the NBA Finals. It was their golden chance to rectify their 2006 loss. After falling behind 2-1 in the series, the Mavericks wouldn't lose another game. NBA Finals MVP Dirk Nowitzki released 5 years of frustration on the star-studded Heat and redeemed himself as well as his team. It might have also spawned the spirit of rivalry in LeBron James because he would continue to be called the king with no ring. AI versus Kobe. To commemorate his NBA rival on his 42nd birthday, Iverson wrote a touching tribute for Bryant on the Players' Tribune. He expressed his admiration for Bryant's work ethic and revealed that no matter how badly they wanted to beat each other on the court, there was no real animosity between them. But it's no doubt that Iverson sparked a rage in Kobe that contributed to his nickname as the Black Mamba. Iverson and Bryant both entered the NBA in 1996. However, Iverson emerged as the bigger star in their formative years in the league. Bryant opened up about this early obsession and recalled that Iverson dropped 41 points and 10 assists on him in a game. Bryant said he would use that game as motivation and dementedly study everything about Iverson. As a matter of fact, the late NBA legend once admitted that he spent 5 years figuring out how to defeat the crossover king, Iverson. Kobe never let that feeling subside. Then, in the 2000 season, when he finally got his chance at revenge, this is what he had to say in the aftermath. On February 20th, 2000 in Philadelphia, PJ gave me the assignment of guarding AI at the start of the second half. No one knew how much this challenge meant to me. I wanted him to feel the frustration I felt. I wanted everyone who laughed at the 41 and 10 he put me on to choke on their laughter. He would publicly say that neither of us could stop the other. I refused to believe that. That is what I believe. When I started guarding AI, he had 16 at the half. He finished the game with 16. Revenge was sweet. Despite the on-court rivalry, Iverson said, "There was never any beef. It was like heavyweight fighters beating the hell out of one another. And then at the bell, it's nothing but love and respect. Greatness needs company, and we needed each other. Mike needed Prince like Prince needed Mike. Tyson needed Holyfield like Holyfield needed Tyson. Which of these great memories of revenge do you favor the most? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below and follow all protocol for our newest content.